No, he's not.
or till the end of it. I don't think he will. And here's a,
We're jumping right into it, guys. Hello.
I actually think that's probably a bad mistake by the Republicans
What?
because they're gonna put
Okay. So,
well, they're
hello,
gonna put
everyone.
Camto up, which
We
is
popped into the
probably
middle
gonna
of
be
a
worse.
conversation, apparently. How's it going, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I still have a cold. I've had a cold for about a week,
Yeah.
so my voice is still gonna be a little bit funky. But we got some topics to discuss today.
The topics will be heavily mocked.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I think it's safe to say that's probably going to be every week because this administration is not showing any sign of sanity.
No.
Neither is the world right now. Let's be fair. It's just kind of a shit show.
It is a bit of a shit show right now. Apparently, some people are saying that they already got a COVID warning on the stream that there's disinfo going on. I mean, it depends on who you ask, I suppose. People on Twitter would say that it is disinfo. And speaking of which,
I have never been wrong about anything. I've literally been right about absolutely everything, and that's that's not an exaggeration or me tooting my own horn. That has actually been the case the whole damn time. Because any person can go, hey, look, the whole world is doing the same thing. There's no way in hell this would ever be exploited by higher-ups. No, never. I'm just some crazy tinfoil hat-wearing nut job.
Forever and ever you've been right about?
Yeah. Well, everything. But this, yes, because this wasn't exactly very difficult to figure out. You just needed to look and pay attention.
So, but the thing that apparently
oh my god, the media lies. Oh, it's never a thought.
Speaking of media lies, great segue. So,
you're welcome.
The other day, a study was released. If you go on Twitter or anywhere else, it will be put in quotes like you see here from Forbes, once reputable magazine, I thought. Headline, did the so-called Johns Hopkins study really show lockdowns were ineffective against COVID-19? Thank you, Bruce Lee. His name is Bruce Lee. There you go. Good for you. So, before we get into it, because we might want to go more than like a minute before jumping into stuff that Google doesn't like, but I don't really give a shit. That's just the image from the fucking... How did I screw that one up? Oh, it was another article I sent you, so it'll be up here in the chat. I'll find it. Because people were pretty mad about this study. And you'll find that the madness about it is not based on, science. And I thought we were supposed to trust the science, guys. That's what I don't understand. You'll see the articles like this. What you need to know about that, quotes, Johns Hopkins lockdown study. Look how they keep... No, fuck off. Look how they keep putting it in quotes. I found this very curious, right? They keep putting it in quotes. This Johns Hopkins, quote, study or whatever, German government says it's disinfo, Patricus von Kempen. I'm not shocked. The thing that does confuse me is that for the last 2 years, all we have heard is trust the science, trust scientists, listen to scientists all the time. Because they know better than you. You're a stupid pleb. You wouldn't be able to understand the science, you freaking moron. So you gotta trust the scientists. Well, here we have some scientists that have said some things. In a paper, by the way. And they don't want you to look at it for some reason. Let's look at what they have to say. Let's look with MedPage today. I have no idea. Do I even have NewsGuard turned on? What is NewsGuard? Oh, am I logged out? Oh shoot, I'll have to do that on another page. But yeah, I'm gonna log back into NewsGuard. But
you want to hear something funny?
Yeah, always.
Mark Tice just said, black people make up 13% of the population, but 90% of people in TV commercials. I also said they also make up 97% of security.
Of what? You cut out. I think... I don't think the internet wanted me to hear what you were about to say.
It said black people make up 13% of the population, but 97% of people in TV commercials. And I said they also make up 97% of security cam footage.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it took me a second because I was reading something. Like, I'm not supposed to do.
That's funny. I don't care if anyone says.
I thought I paid for NewsGuard. I was pretty sure I did. But
You
now
pay for news?
for NewsGuard. But I don't think they used to cost money. Well, it does now, I guess. That's cool. Thanks. That's why I can't use NewsGuard. NewsGuard at least used to... they used to be free, I thought. But now they want me to pay them money. I could be wrong.
Like hell.
Or I might have... I'm lagging?
Yeah, like I can barely hear. Like you were cut off for like 5 seconds at a time.
You were cutting out for me. How's it? My internet might be being shitty.
Stop Asian. Who hates Asians? Well, blacks do.
No, I don't think Google is censoring us, guys. This is probably my internet.
Yeah, you're like...
Give me 1 sec. No, that's my best connection. Shoot. Well, let's see if it improves, and if not, I don't really know what to do. Oh my god, hang on.
I'll end up pausing it because my connection is much better than yours.
Oh, sorry, jeez, I'm so congested. All right, well, the problem that'd be fine, but that would be
like
fine.
For the stream, people are saying that I'm cutting out more than you, and for me, you're cutting out constantly.
Oh, fuck. So
like, I can hear, I can more not hear you than hear you.
Oh, let's go to, I don't know, where do you want to go? Singapore. We go to South Africa. Would that make you, would that make you happy? Let's see.
Oh, hell no.
I'm resetting the Discord location, guys. We'll see if that fixes the issue. I'm really sorry about
What you want to go to my country for?
Well, we're in there now to see if it fixes the issue. Is it better?
Oh, you mean is it VPN-wise?
No, in Discord. I changed the region.
Oh, hell no. Where were you before?
Just said automatic. All right, sorry, no, guys, it doesn't appear to be on you or on Google or anything else. It was on maybe Discord or whatever. Anyway, let's look at these. It's kind of going to be bullshit there for a minute because, again, I think that Google does not want people to talk about this. So, MedPage today, what you need to know about that Johns Hopkins. And they're really up. They're so, like, there's no way, Spoon. This is molding, isn't it? The reason they keep putting it in quotes.
Oh, God, yeah.
Johns Hopkins study. Johns Hopkins. All of this adds up to a very weird review paper. It says, I'm guessing. Oh, it's someone she's quoting, right? A paper being touted as the Johns Hopkins study. Now, I think that it was Bill Maher who started this. I don't really know. I don't know who started this trend of calling it the Johns Hopkins study. But let's put it this way, and I said this to you earlier today, Spoon. That's for ease of convenience of referring to this study for people who are not necessarily people who, you know, read scientific studies all day, every day, right? They're not necessarily used to, I mean, otherwise, you'd have to cite it, and you'd have to say, oh, the study I'm talking about is by Herbie, Jonung, and Hanke, 2022, right? That's my reference. It was from the Johns Hopkins Institute for Applied Economics, Global Health, and the Study of Business Enterprise. That's Johns Hopkins. I know that you're mad it's from the economic side, but economists are, generally speaking, pretty well trained in the analysis of statistics, right? I don't know if you were aware of that either, Spoon. Did you know that economists generally tend to be pretty good with numbers? Hello? Oh,
See what I mean? Like, I can, like, what?
Oh, no, it's still cut out again? You didn't hear any of that? Fuck.
Wait.
Let's try somewhere else. Sometimes I have... Oh, shit. I love when I have fucking technical difficulties. Do you have a Skype? I might have to call you through Skype. If it's a Discord issue. Hang on a second, guys. I'm gonna put some music on for a second while I try to fix this. I'm really sorry. This is super lame. Give me 1 sec. I'll put the music back on. We'll go back while I buffer and try to figure out what's going on with the streaming.
Yes. Yes. But you cut out like all the time. Yes, for me. Eh.
Hang on, guys. It's not me, actually. I have no idea what's causing this. Because I guess Skype's not working either. This has not been an issue before. God damn it, dude. Ugh. I don't know what I should do. At this point, I'm really actually confused and I don't know what to do. But I can't hear anything on Skype either. I'm gonna keep, I guess, reading this for a minute while I try to figure out what's going on with... This actually is not a woman moment. Oh my god, I don't know what it is moment. Skype's not working either though. Oh well. Oh man. Let's see. I don't know what to do, guys. This is all scuffed. 1 second. This is great.
Yeah, I could hear you just fine. Your fault. Because you can't hear me, and I can see on my end that it's literally scanning. I can see.
Fucking A, dude. Is the connection at least better now?
No.
No?
No.
Are we just gonna have to cancel? I don't know what to do.
Well, you can just keep going. I'll just make do.
Fucking A, dude. I don't know what to do about it.
It's only when you stream.
Why? I couldn't hear you at all through Skype, so...
No, but this streaming thing is definitely the reason why it can't. Because if you speak on just Discord, it's fine. But the second you start streaming, like, I hear, like, every 4 or 5 seconds, it just cuts dead mid-sentence. The stream just goes jolted and then just silence.
Oh, well. Let's just keep trying to go about it and hope it improves. Okay. Sorry for the huge fucking shit show. Okay. But, okay.
Apparently the stream can hear you for some reason. Which is not my fault because my connection is fantastic.
Well, they can hear you too, apparently. I don't know. Apparently, everyone can hear both of us, but we just can't hear each other. Holy shit, bro.
Yeah,
That's
all fine for the audience, but it's gonna make me kill her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, paper being touted as the Johns Hopkins study that suggested lockdowns didn't reduce COVID deaths has serious flaws and is being misinterpreted. We're gonna read the whole thing, by the way. Experts said, let's see, who's the expert? Fox News.
I've never wanted to punch an Asian man as much as I do this guy.
Who?
this BS thing. What was was it this guy who wrote the bit about building
this is the other guy.
laptops to crush them?
The Bruce Lee guy is the one who wrote the Forbes version. I'm reading the Med Page Today one, but
Oh, okay, because that one maybe just one like
the Forbes one is way more insufferable. I thought
childishly stupid.
I thought we'd start with the slightly less insufferable take before taking.
So it'll make it worse.
I know. First,
if this is bad, wait till we get to the next one.
I know. Fox News has charged that there has been a full media blackout of the paper, but science and medical experts argue the real reason for not covering the paper is because of its limitations. First, the paper is a working paper that hasn't been peer-reviewed. Okay. I'm imagining that almost no one reporting on this knows what a working paper is. Do you know what a working paper is? You probably can't fucking hear me. What?
You asking me or the chat?
I was asking you, yeah, because you can respond more easily than the chat can.
Oh, well, no, I don't know.
Stop trying to put the blame on me on this shit, by the way.
I am barely literate, in case that isn't obvious.
Okay, so...
I can just about write my own name.
So a working paper means that they are working through it. They make the data public, and the reason to make it public is so that other scholars can critique it and offer input. That's the purpose of a working paper. Several of the studies that they include in their meta-analysis, which, sorry, I dropped my load a little bit too preemptively there, is that it's a meta-analysis. Now, when I'm about to read through this, if you didn't know this was a meta-analysis, nothing about the way that this paper is being described indicates that it's a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis means it's just an analysis of existing research. They're not doing anything new besides collating data that already exists. That's all it is. They're not conducting...
just number crunchers.
It's a number crunching session, which, hey, guess what? It's kind of a thing that economists do all the time.
No way.
I know, weird. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to stream over AA, my bad. Never a good time. That's the problem, you're always going to end up accidentally streaming over somebody else. Okay. So, not been peer-reviewed, but that's the purpose of this. Christina, the purpose of a working paper is so it's open for review from anyone. That's why they do that. Also, it was published on the website for the Institute of Applied Economics, Global Health, and Study of Business Enterprise at the Johns Hopkins Krieger School of Arts and Sciences in Baltimore. Yeah, it was. How does this make it not a Johns Hopkins study? It was published out of Johns Hopkins. Now, here is a really interesting bit. Here's where we get into the very interesting bit of the narrative, right? So I'm gonna pull up the study for you here right now, guys. Here it is. This is dangerous stuff. You shouldn't look at this. Let's get this official Johns Hopkins logo right here on the front. But remember, this is just Johns Hopkins in a bunch of quotations. This is not a real Johns Hopkins study. You notice something here, though, about where Steve H. Hanke, or Hanke, I don't know how you pronounce it, is here in this list. You see Jonas Herby, Lars Jonung, or Jonung, I don't know, and Steve Hanke. You see how he's last? He's third author. But he's the only one they're going to talk about. Because Steve Hanke is the founder of the Institute. The founder of the Johns Hopkins Krieger School of Arts and Sciences, Study of Business Enterprise. He founded this school. Applied Economics, Global Health, and Business Enterprise, excuse me. He founded this school. He's an applied economist, not an epidemiologist, public health expert, or medical doctor. Hanke is also a senior fellow at the Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank. Oh no! Oh no! They are so obsessed with this. Both of them are real quick. They talk about this guy. As soon as they get into talking about anything related to the study itself, it's that, oh, Steve Hanke. See? Cato Institute. One of the authors wasn't even from Johns Hopkins. Jonas Herby is a master's degree. For whom the working paper described as special advisor, he is the lead author right here. Lead author. We do this by level of importance and amount of work that was done on a paper is usually. There are some times why we wouldn't do that. For example, if you have a young scholar who is like in a PhD program, you might actually put their name first on the paper, because if you're really cool, doctoral advisor, you'd be like, hey, I'm gonna put my my student's name first on this paper that we worked on together, because they contributed a whole lot to it, and it's very important to them. And it's a little bit, I'm gonna fix this real quick, but because they contributed a bunch to it, and it's very important to a young scholar to get your name out there and be able to, to apply to jobs and tenureship. So it is very important to do that. So that might be the reason why you would do it. It could also be that Jonas Herby just worked more on it. But they're very, very focused. All the media coverage of this is very focused on this Steve Hanke guy, because he works at Cato. And Cato, of course, is a libertarian think tank. Well, let's continue on with it, though. Or I don't know, Spoon. I don't know how well you can hear me. Or should we talk about Steve Hanke first? Because...
What do you do?
Well, there's a bit of a reveal. So
okay,
they really don't like this guy. Clearly, they keep mentioning him first and foremost, even though he's third author on it, right? Which would mean...
Oh, he's the one with the massive fuck-off resume.
God damn it, I have a fucking joke, and you made me lose my joke. My joke is, all these people are out here looking at Steve Hanke and being like, oh, he is at the Cato Institute. That must mean he's not a real scholar. When in reality, it's this kind of mood. When you look at this man's CV. Oh, how about I get claimed for this?
CV is a small book.
Like, yeah, okay. This Overlord meme. Where, again, they're all sitting out there trying to, dab on this guy, being like, oh, he works at Cato Institute. That must mean that he's just some right-wing conservative nut job. Meanwhile, this is the drip. Yeah, I sense no magic power from you. That's it. I hope I don't get claimed for that meme. Like, 40-second meme. But let me show you. Let me show you Steve Hanke's CV. Now, at first glance, as we pull this up here, Senior Fellow and Director of Troubled Currencies Project. This is the Cato Institute, the nasty, big, scary Cato Institute, those gosh darn libertarians. Steve Hanke is a professor of applied economics and founder and co-director of the Institute for Applied Economics, Global Health, the study of business enterprise at the Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. He is director of the Troubled Currencies Project at the Cato Institute and a senior fellow at Cato's Center for Monetary and Financial Alternatives. Now, this dumb bitch, sorry, not sorry. This dumb bitch and this dumb bitch got here and stopped. They didn't click on this. Let's read. Spin, would you do me the honors of reading some excerpts from... I'm gonna have to, move my cram around a little bit, but while I fix that, would you do me the honors of me shutting up and you taking over the reins to read some excerpts, if you find anything here particularly interesting, from this man's CV?
Which one?
The one on the Cato Institute that I posted.
If I can get this stupid link up. Why?
Oh yeah, I got it. Sorry, I thought you had it already. Oh, that was not very dramatic then.
Do you want to read this?
I said if there's anything from it you wanted to focus on. Some of his accolades.
Oh, good lord. He's got a lot. I'll be here for a while.
Well, that's what I mean. Let me see if I can fix this.
Let's see. Senior advisor at the Renmin University of China Research Institute in Beijing, a special counselor to the Center of Financial Stability in New York, a contributing editor at Central Banking in London, and a contributor at National Review. Hanke is also a member of the Charter Council of the Society for Economic Measurement and of Euromoney County Risks Expert Panel. In the past, Hanke taught economics at the Colorado School of Mines at the University of California, Berkeley. He served as a member of the Governor's Council of Economic Advisors in Maryland in 76 to 77, as a senior economist on President Reagan's Council of Economics Advisors in 81 to 82, and as a senior advisor to the Joint Economic Committee of the U.S. Congress in 84 to 88. Hanke served as a state councilor to both the Republic of Lithuania, that's bizarre, in 94 to 96, and the Republic
You'll see why if he didn't.
99.
Yeah.
He was also an advisor to the presidents of Bulgaria, Venezuela in 95 to 96. I wonder why he was only there for 1 year. Indonesia in 1998.
But
he played.
this is the important part. This is the thing about Lithuania.
Which?
What the next sentence?
He played an important role in establishing new currency regimes in Bulgaria, Bosnia, Herzegovina. Hanke has also held senior appointments in the governorship of many of the countries, including Albania, Kazakhstan, and United Arab Emirates and Yugoslavia. Hanke has also been awarded honorary doctorate degrees. You know what you're saying?
Just real quick. In other words, this man invented money in a whole bunch of countries. He invented money. It is the National Bank of Money. Continue. If you want to. I just try, it's not that long. Just probably the next next paragraph or next two. It's insane. This man's fucking goddamn accolades. Sorry, continue, Spoon.
Awarded honorary doctorate degrees at Universidad San Francisco de Quito. I'm probably butchering that. University of Belize, I'm presuming the T is silent. Istanbul Cultural University 2012.
Actually, don't worry about this.
Sciences.
This is just a bunch of names of universities.
Yeah, but I like the last one.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes, it is Gottfried von Habeler, professor at the University or the European Center of Stein. Monarchy. In 1998, he was named one of the 25 most influential people in the world by the World Trade Magazine in 2000. Or in 2020, Hanke was named a Knight of the Order of the Flag. I don't know what that is, by the way.
What is what's the Order of the Flag? I don't know either.
Order of the Flag.
Let's look
It sounds like something you'd hear in like.
Oh, coat of arms of Malta? No. That can't be it. Flag of no, what? No way. What the hell does that mean? Is he a Knight of Malta?
I haven't.
He's some sort of knight, though. The point is, this man is not to be trifled with in terms of knowing what's up.
The first thing I thought of was like a Templar.
That's what it sounds like, but...
Yes, that's what it sounds like as well. To me, like... Is he... He sounds like he...
In the 1990s, he served as president of Toronto Trust Argentina in Buenos Aires, the world's best performing emerging market mutual fund in 1995. My dude is not some insane crackpot, right?
Crackpot lefty.
Well, he's not any kind of insane crackpot. This is an extremely esteemed economist. And yet every article is like, this economist who works for Cato must be a far-right extremist, nut job.
It's quite interesting the way that the first thing they will do when discussing this guy is just besmirch where he's from. Because instantly dismiss the information just because
they
don't
didn't
like
look
what
it
he has
up.
to say. It's like poisoning the well to a massively high degree.
Yeah, I'll give you the information real quick on the first author, because he's only got little paragraph.
As well.
Little paragraph blurb about him. Jonas Herby is a special advisor at the Center for Political Studies in Copenhagen, Denmark. His research focuses on law and economics. He holds a master's degree in economics from the University of Copenhagen. And then our third author here, I didn't even bother to save his CV or website because it's all he has about him. This is Lars Jonung. He is Professor Emeritus. That is as high of a status as you can get in the Department of Economics at Lund University. Professor Emeritus at the Knut Wiskel Center for Financial Studies, Department of Economics at Lund University, Sweden. Since 2010, he has served as chairman of the Swedish Fiscal Policy Council 2012 to 2013, research advisor at whatever that thing is, the European Commission, Brussels 2000 to 2010, working on European macroeconomic issues. Before moving to Brussels, he was professor in economics at the Stockholm School of Economics. Jonung served as chief economic advisor to Prime Minister Carl Bildt, I think, 92 to 94. His research covers monetary and fiscal policy, inflationary expectations, the euro, the economics of European integration, the history of Swedish economic thought. Spoon, are any of these people, like, radical crazies?
Say that again?
Are any of these people radical crazies?
All of them, probably, I think.
Well, what impetus...
It's easy to find the ones that are not sane, I think.
What impetus would anyone involved in this have to publish false information?
Financial gain, so probably...
What financial gain? They're already saying, you know, we gotta cancel these guys, essentially.
Good luck with that. You've got a pretty esteemed career. I don't think you just cancel it.
I'm pretty sure these are uncancelable people. You know what I mean? At least, sometimes, I will say this, sometimes, when two scholars are not super, like, fond, or a bunch of scholars are not super fond or happy with the scholarship they've conducted, and they don't like the results, they will throw a grad student under the bus and have them be first author, but that's rare. It does happen. It's kind of awful. But I don't think that... Because the other guy, again, I'm sorry, what's his name? Let me find it again. Jonas Herby. When I looked him up, he's like an older guy too. He's not he just has an MS, but just because he has a master's degree, somewhat middle-aged guy. He just seems to be a professional economist, even though he just has an MS, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think they're throwing him under the bus by putting him as lead author. And clearly, even if that was the case, first of all, we're going to read the data. But secondly, they're still going after Hanke first, for whatever reason. The trio are highly regarded... highly regarded economists who have been also extremely anti-lockdown since March of 2020, tweeted Gideon Mierowitz-Katz, PhD, an epidemiologist at the University of Wollongong in Australia, who posted a thorough critique of the paper. I haven't read this, because I don't care. We're going to read the paper itself. Its key conclusion was that the lockdown only reduced COVID mortality by 0.2% on average, but several researchers said that number is unreliable. All they have done here, lads, though, is done an analysis of the raw statistics. And what you're going to see... What the fuck? I don't want to email him. What you're going to see is that there's nothing in here that's bizarre, and they're only citing other people's data. How can they have fucked up? I mean, I guess they could have. They could have totally botched their numbers, but these are well-esteemed and established economists. Why would they fuck up all of their reputations to do just a meta-analysis, which is just complex statistics? But they didn't conduct any of this stuff. They're just drawing from published studies. Let's see what the rest of these idiots have to say. For starters, experts commenting for the UK Science Media Centre warned about the paper's questionable definition of lockdown. How curious is this shit, Spoon? They don't have an issue with the paper. Curious definition of lockdown.
As soon as they don't hear something that they like, we should instantly change the definition.
Right.
Like misinformation.
Like, do you want to take a quick aside to do that? let's
misinformation.
Since it got brought up,
really weird. He linked something interesting. Steve, he linked a timeline risk of what the world leaders think is the most terrifying thing in the world.
Which is?
By percentage.
Who linked
in
this?
Every time frame. Steve Hanke, the guy with the massive resume. In every single one of them, climate change is the main issue.
Because it's the pivot.
From 0 to 2 years, from 2 to 5 years, and from 5 to 10. I found it really funny is that everyone says in 5 to 10 years we're all going to die.
They've been saying that for 5 to 10 years. They've been saying that for 20 to 30 years.
By the way, I don't give a crap about what Google says. The world is not going to die in 12 years. it. She just no idea what the hell she's talking about. We're not going to die in 12 years from some climate crisis. That's horseshit.
Yeah, but
they've been saying this since the 60s.
But what you and I have talked about a lot is that it seems that the climate crisis is the pivot, right? The COVID is not useful anymore. It's the, I don't want to play with you anymore meme of throwing this toy away. It's not useful. People are too upset about it. It's too deleterious. So they're going to switch the nightmare to climate change. And I think that's true. But real quick, based on what you just said, I do want to say that the Department of Homeland Security National Terrorism Advisory System has given us a new bulletin that says that misinformation is terrorism and domestic threats.
Of course it is, because they have no idea what the hell it means. Of course it's very terrifying to them.
Well, apparently really this is terrorism then. Apparently this study is terrorism, according to the fucking Department of Homeland Security.
I don't give a crap what the Homeland Security says. They can't even control their own border. Fuck them. I don't give a crap what the hell they say. But this is really weird. So the top thing in this is the WF. 31% is extreme weather. Now, in the next year, 2 to 5, climate action failure is the top one. And it's funny because in the first one, climate action failure is 27%. And then by the next 2 years, it's up 8%, which is very, very weird.
Yeah.
But extreme weather failure drops down. And then if you look at it from, in 5 to 10 years, climate action failure is 40%. So within the space of 0 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's going to be an apocalypse, right?
Yes, is the thing. So even by this standards, they don't think they can actually do anything about it. Even this is by the World Economic Forum's own numbers. What is really weird is infectious diseases is 26% from now to 2 years. But in 2 to 5 and 5 to 10, it doesn't even register.
What a shock.
The lowest percentage is on by 2 to 5 years. I find that rather interesting.
Yeah. It is curious,
From 0 to
right?
2 years, infectious diseases is 26%. And then by 2 to 5, it's not even registering here. So the top ones from 2 to 5 is environmental action failure, extreme weather, basically the same thing, social cohesion erosion, that's almost 25%. Wonder why that's so high. Debt crisis, human environmental damage, geo-economic confrontations, I imagine, cybersecurity failure, biodiversity loss. How the hell is this so? How is biodiversity loss only 13%, but climate action failure and extreme weather is almost 20% higher? You would think they go hand in hand.
In fact, the biodiversity failure is actually one of the key precursors to any kind of environmental change, because biodiversity, some of the most diverse species in the world, are also some of the most susceptible to environmental change, like amphibians, right? So if you have severe environmental change, you're going to see species problems in terms of reproductive issues or dying out in massive numbers, probably before you see anything else.
I find this
remember
very
the polar bears? Spoon, didn't you see the polar bear on the last little bit of the iceberg left, stuck out stranded in the ocean, and didn't it break your heart?
No, because we have
polar
had
bears can
extreme.
swim.
I know you're being sarcastic. No, that's true. But the fact that this is not the warmest that we've ever been.
No.
It's not even close to being the warmest we've ever been.
No.
The polar bears are still here. So the fact that people say, "Oh, warm weather is going to kill the polar bear," bitch, it didn't kill them when it was warmer than it is now. So what the hell makes you think they're just going to die suddenly, drop dead? Like, no, that's rubbish.
Greenhouse gases are a real problem potentially, but we've been able to do things like actually repair the ozone to some degree because we did damage it. The point.
Oh, because there's a bit of increase in CO2 in the atmosphere. So what? Plants grow now more because of it.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk about that.
You gotta be aware about butterfly effect. You gotta be aware about butterfly effects. But the problem is, and we talked about this before on the environmental stuff, is that it's impossible to isolate. When we're talking about the Joe Rogan, interview, with Peterson, because Peterson brought it up very early on, and when you put more variables into a regression analysis in this case, because a regression is trying to figure out the cause of something. by the way that you do that is basically by taking in a bunch of variables and you throw them into a matrix or a model, and you try to figure out which variable is causing which amount of variance is predicting this outcome. The problem is with regression analysis, when you put more and more variables into the model, it reduces fit inherent because you're going to introduce variance, and the more variance you introduce, the less the model is able to actually explain anything. So the more variables you add, and as Jordan Peterson said in that talk with Joe Rogan, is that with the environment, all the variables are literally everything, right? The environment is everything. It is everything that's around you is the environment. So if to understand your output, you need to include everything that exists for the most part, at least in terms of things that could possibly affect the environment, and you have to throw that into your regression model. They're not using regressions, they're doing more advanced statistical analysis that I probably don't understand at all. But from my basic, well, more slightly more than basic, but not you know, the kind of level that people who are doing this stuff are doing. But from my understanding, and it would be the same kind of, because math doesn't change. Like, math works the same way at multiple levels. When you add more variables into the system, you inherently introduce problems. You increase error, and you decrease variance that can be accounted for. Even if the variance accounted for goes up, well, eventually all the variance accounted for is going to be 100% because you've included every variable in the system. So of course, the whole variance accounted for will be 100%. But your error rate skyrockets. It makes such an analysis completely unusable and meaningless, because then you can't figure out which variable did what when you throw it all into an analysis like that. It's completely silly nonsense bullshit talk when people act like they can pick out exactly what's causing X, Y, and Z when you talk about the environment, which is everything. So that's nonsense. Not as an environmental scientist myself, and apparently according to the way things work now, is that if you're a statistician or someone who understands numbers, you can't talk about any other field of scientists can only talk about their one tiny micro field. If you have any knowledge of science, you can't say anything about any other type of science. You know, unless you are a I don't know, education PhD who wants to get Joe Rogan removed from Spotify for doing that, then you can talk as much as shit as you want about how you're a scientific expert, right? That's the only time that doesn't matter what your degree is in, as it does here. Well, it matters a whole bunch. Oh, this is terrible. These guys have economics degrees. They shouldn't be allowed to talk about, like, where did she bitch about it here earlier? Oh, not a doctor, not a health expert. Yeah, so, Hanke can't talk about it. But I guarantee, what do you want to bet this, words for this lady I won't use, thinks that, I don't know who she is, so I don't want to be mean. Maybe she's nice. Maybe she's a very lovely, nice lady.
Oh, you would call her a bitch?
Yeah, maybe this bitch. Though, I'm asking you, what do you think the odds are that this is the kind of person, or is someone who wants to get Joe Rogan removed for misinformation and cited the, 200 scientists who signed the petition to remove him, right?
Yeah, when people are like, basically, like, most of them are nurses. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the list. There's not a single virologist in that entire list.
So, for some reason, this
I don't even think there's barely like any epidemiologists. Like 3, I think. Most of them don't know shit about shit.
There were a couple actual doctors. I mean, by that, medical doctors. But it's interesting. Yeah, Bolt Reaper, that's exactly right. Yeah, adding variables to the predictor set can increase the explanatory power. Yeah, they are squared, but at the cost of statistical significance. Either way, when you add more variables, you're going to end up fucking up the whole model, because this is why we go in with a hypothesis of, like, we're only going to test these variables and see what that predictive power is, because then we just start throwing shit in. It fucks the whole thing up. So you don't want to do that. But that's the problem with environmental studies, is that you kind of have, environment is everything, so you kind of have to do everything.
Someone said that Tyro.
Hey, Tyro.
Economics doesn't apply to medicine. That is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Of course, economics applies to medicine. It's called costs, you fucking imbecile.
Yeah, go to the hospital and see how much shit costs.
There's people in life where if they say something that dumb, I think you should just disengage. Mm-hmm. Like, if you say something that stupid, like your mind should just go, this is not a person that has any sense or reason. Don't bother engaging. You're not going to get anywhere. That's just a waste of time. Fuck them.
And Riley Robo, you're correct.
If someone said to me something like that, I would just...
Yeah. But yeah, Riley Robo, you're correct too, is that there's very, very little interdisciplinary work. And when there's little interdisciplinary work, yeah, it means that the chemist isn't going to work with the metallurgist, who isn't going to work with a pure environmental scientist. So you end up with a bunch of people not talking to each other. However, economists, and in this case, they are taking data, we'll look at it in a second, are taking data, and they're just conducting, honestly, a not too complicated meta-analytical approach, or looking at it from a basic meta-analytical approach to combine those data and see what they found as a result. Let's continue, though, with this shitty article. Okay. So they have an issue with the definition of lockdown. Samir Bhatt, Doctor of Philosophy. Is that what they mean by DPhil here? It's gotta be. A professor of statistics and public health at Imperial College London said in a statement that the study's most inconsistent aspect is the reinterpreting of what a lockdown is. Should we read what it is, or should we read what he says it is? The authors define lockdown as the imposition of at least one compulsory non-pharmaceutical intervention. Yeah, NPI, yeah. I remember this in the study, yeah. Which would make mask-wearing policy a lockdown. That is a lockdown. You are telling people they have to lock down and wear a mask. I don't know, Spoon, do you disagree?
No.
I would say that instituting mandates that require you to wear a mask to go to the store is a form of lockdown, because people are going to be less wanting, this is a secondary level effect, are going to be less wanting or willing to go to the store because they have to wear a mask to do it. And it's
just do what I do, which is just don't wear one.
Yeah, Spoon's apparently a Chad who just doesn't live by man's rules. I don't know how you get away with that.
Some hacker is gonna tell. Well, it's very simple. I don't do as I'm told, and I just go wherever the hell I want. What are people gonna do? Walk up to me and go, "You wear a mask"? No. What are they gonna do? That's it. Like, just say no. You're gonna have like what?
Oh, we got asked to. It only happened to me once in the last 2 years. It only happened to me once. It was when they reinstituted the mandates here, because they had been gone for a while, and then they reinstituted them for like, I don't know. How long did they go on for? 3 months? 2 months? Something like that?
Damn it.
Sorry.
Mask. Or about a mask 3 times. One was one of the... I can't remember what... I think I was looking for a pulley. I was looking for a 3-prong for a, I think, 20 millimeter.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a metal cage I was trying to build.
Metal.
Do you have this thing in stock? He said no, so I just left anyway. It doesn't matter.
Wait a minute, you say you're trying to build a metal cage?
Yes.
What are you planning on doing with this, my dude?
Drape my acoustic blankets over them.
Oh. I don't know. I just...
What did you think I was going to build?
Usually if somebody says they're building a cage, your brain doesn't go into good places.
Okay, that maybe says more about you than it does me.
I don't know, chat. What do you think?
Uh-huh. The other one was this was a couple of months ago. I went into a shop, and the one woman at the store counter said to me, "You have to wear a mask." I just looked at her and scoffed and walked off. I haven't been in the shop since. And then a couple of weeks ago, a woman asked me, "Where's?" I just went, "I don't have one," and then I just walked off. That's it. Like, I didn't give these people my time of day, because I look at this woman like, "Woman, you're like 54. You were going to experience momentary displeasure with me, and then 5 seconds after I'm done, you're going to forget I exist. There's no reason for me to give you any more attention than that. Just fuck off."
I mean, that's true. Again, the only time I've been accosted about it was after they reinstituted the mandates, because I had been in the hospital when the pandemic started, and then so I didn't have to deal with any of that shit. I was in the hospital for 3 months, or almost 3 months, and then I got out, and I was still I couldn't really walk. It took me like months to be able to walk again after that, so I couldn't go out and do shit. By the time that I was able to like be relatively normal again, it was pretty much over. And then months later, like maybe a couple months ago now, they reinstituted them for like 2 months. And it was during that time I was out at the store, and I didn't have a mask on because the day we went to the store was the day they reinstituted the mask mandates, and we didn't even know about it. And a lady walked up to me, and we've been walking around the store, by the way, for like 45 minutes, and no one had told us. And the lady walked up to me and was like, you have to wear a mask. And I was like, oh, shoot, okay, well. And we did have them with us just in case. It wasn't a big deal. But it was weird that, like, we walked around for that long. And, I kind of feel bad for the workers, because in that case, I don't think that woman wanted to enforce it. Don't get me wrong, there are mask Karens who totally get off on enforcing this shit. Absolutely.
Some of them do. I noticed the place that I shop is overwhelmingly filled with people who work there, and they obviously are not a fans of government intervention for obvious reasons. So when they see someone disobeying the rules, they seem to not give a shit, which is thank God for that. Also for the chat, I am not German, and how dare you say I am German? That is offensive to me. I'm Dutch. I'm not freaking German.
Oh, I don't know why that's better. Windmill tilter.
Shut up, Welshoid. You were colonized by the English. My people did the colonizing.
Your pure Dutchness is clogging up my stream. That's why the internet's not working. Get it?
Go shag sheep.
Go get it? Clogging it up. I hate myself.
You should feel bad for that.
I do. It's instant regret.
Oh my god. No, I just want to say, I'm not being disparaging about people, but anyone who drives and wears a mask, if you get in a car accident, I'm not going to help you. That should be your punishment for being that stupid.
No, we gotta stop with that kind of shit. That kind of like that kind of vax, anti-vax nonsense. Gotta stop with that
if
kind
I
of
see
stuff.
someone wearing a mask in their car and they're driving, I want to walk over to their car and just Hulk smash the hood of their car. It's just like this stupid, and there's no one else in the car. That makes it worse. Like, I can understand if you're stupid enough to still think this does anything, and there's like an older person in your car that you're potentially worried about. But when there's no one else in, I'm like, what are you doing? You just look like such a pleb.
It's all a virtue signal. I'm pretty sure. I've got some data from my analysis that I've been doing that I have a video that I'm gonna record as soon as my cold is over. It's at that last stage of the cold where it just sounds really bad, but it's actually not bad anymore. But anyway, let's go back to this dumb bitch.
Dutch, not swamp Germans. This chat is offending me.
Don't get offended by the chat.
I think it's mixing me with Germans.
Just trolling.
I'm hoping the chat isn't mainly Americans, because then I'll have a go at all of you.
What I would like to point out is welcome to the stream, Alistair.
My country
Minecraft.
doesn't have a senile retard for president.
Nice to see you here, bro. Okay, so Neil Ferguson, PhD, also of the Imperial College of London, said the same statement that by definition, quote, the UK has been in permanent lockdown since the 16th of March 2021 and remains in lockdown given it remain compulsory for people diagnosed with COVID-19 to self-isolate for at least 5 days. Ferguson is director of the MRC Center for Global Infectious Disease Analysis and the Jameel Institute at the college. Questions have been raised about the quality of the included studies. Oh my God, it's a whole segment. It's a whole segment. In each segment, they do a quality analysis of the studies. They do the quality analysis. And they give you their full data and why they conducted the quality analysis. Christina, you don't understand. And whoever else made this critique doesn't understand and hasn't read the paper. Because there are, she's citing the Forbes article.
They can read?
Well, apparently.
Sure.
12 working papers rather than peer-reviewed science. I explained at the beginning what a working paper is. Working paper is actually, it's called
I get
working.
the feeling half of these people don't know what these words mean.
No,
they just
don't.
saw someone else say it and thought like, oh, this will be good. The same thing on multiple articles. You get the impression that this is a coordinated, well, it is obviously, but when it's that much more obvious, you can start dismissing it as credible, because when everyone is doing the same thing, it just looks like, yeah, this is just this memo.
Yeah.
It said write X.
She also is only studying Forbes. 12 are working papers. That just means, a working paper means that it's open source, essentially. That's the best way I can describe a working paper. The scientists are putting their data out there for it to be critiqued and for it to be added to, and for there to be commentary from other scientists. That's why they put it out there as a working paper. Now, they cite working papers on top of that because it's the same thing with the working papers. That these are all open source papers. All right? And 14 studies were conducted by economists rather than public health or medical experts, according to Forbes, not according to their actual review. Let's look at them. Here we have the data. Where actually are these studies? This is not what I was looking for, though. It's here later. Here we go. Here we can see the field of research here in column 6. And as you can see, a lot of these are economics, or which they consider social science. And WP here means working paper. This is peer reviewed. They're economists looking at economic papers, right? The economists in these papers, however, are looking at aggregate data. This is a meta-analysis of a meta-analysis, which makes it actually like one of the best forms of studies you can do in terms of what it actually means. Do you know what I mean? None of the data here are theirs. And in fact, a lot of the data they're looking at aren't the data from the people that they were looking at. It was other people taking the data and analyzing it and aggregating it and to try and find mass level meaningful results. Because otherwise you're going to be looking at small sample data usually. This is massive, mass level data sampling. That's why this is a very, very silly thing to say. But she doesn't understand that because she's an idiot. Meyerowitz-Katz highlighted his concerns with the paper's inclusion criteria. It doesn't include modeled counterfactuals, the most common method used in infectious disease assessments, which excludes most epidemiological research from the review. He tweeted, I don't know about this. That could be correct. I would imagine that the metas they're citing here do include the modeled counterfactuals, though, which would be included within the total analysis. I don't know that for sure, though. I'll have to look into it more, guys, about that to respond to Meyerowitz-Katz's assumption there, or assessment. He could be correct. He added that the included studies...
Oh my god, I just noticed. I just noticed that joke in security footage. Mark Dice actually liked that comment. Oh god, that's pretty good.
Yeah, included studies certainly aren't representative of research on lockdowns as a whole on lockdowns. Not even close. Many of the most robust papers on the impact of lockdowns, by definition, excluded. No, they weren't, my dude. I'll tell you why they were excluded. They were excluded because of the shit you just complained about their exclusion criteria, which is that their research methodology did not meet their criteria, which was robustness of accuracy and completion, which it might be. I thought it was up higher, but it is here lower. We can see the numbers. Here we go. Quality dimension. Overview of common estimates from studies based on certainty indexes. It should be indices, I think, but I could be wrong. It should be indices. So we have this one Fuller et al. Study is the only one out of common estimates that shows any significant effect. I mean, this one's 9%, but this is average averted estimated deaths. Fuller et al. Suggests it's 35.3. I'll get into that, though, and it's a low-quality study. Look at the weighting put on it. And the weighting is put on that is because 9.1% standard error? Are you kidding me? Dude?
This is explain what that means.
Okay, this level of error would be outside of the realm for publication in a social science study. Or really, really stretching it. But this is one of those studies that's used to show that the lockdowns really worked, because they're saying it reduced that lockdowns averted death by 35.3%. This is the maybe most robust in terms of findings, output data to show that the lockdowns worked, right? A 9.1% standard error. Low quality data. Not good analysis. Not good. Not good. Let's continue though. All of this adds up to a very weird paper, he tweeted. The authors exclude many of the most rigorous studies, including those that are the entire basis for their meta-analysis in the first place. They then take a number of papers, most of which found that the restrictive MPIs had a benefit on mortality, and derive some mathematical estimate from the regression coefficients, indicating less benefit than the papers suggest. All this together means that the actual numbers produced in the review are largely uninterpretable. Do you want to read the Forbes article? It's just as bad.
I have to.
Only if you want. It's this one. At least this Med Page Today one is less overtly partisan and wrong and stupid. We've already been going for an hour and haven't even touched the fucking study yet, besides just briefly mentioning it.
Why don't you go with the study? Because we already know the stupid complaints.
Yeah, we know the stupid complaints. The med page one, I would say, if you want to see some silly ass shit, this Forbes article, if you've noticed, some have been repeating the name Johns Hopkins study as if it was some kind of magical phrase like open sesame or bop. How old are you?
Well, considering they try to make a joke about the laptops writing the thing.
Yeah.
Probably, very.
Alright. Someone, my voice is gonna... do you have the study up? You can read it, and I'll be able to pipe in, if I have anything to say, because I can already tell my voice is gonna cut in and out because of my stupid cold. But let's go over the important parts. Okay. Global policy reaction to the COVID-19 pandemic is evident. Compulsory pharmaceutical interventions, non-pharmaceutical interventions, that's that NPI acronym, commonly known as lockdowns. This is where they got mad. They got mad here in step 1, which should tell you when all these people are getting angry and they're like, well, you don't know what a lockdown means. I don't know if they read past this, just being completely honest. Because once you start getting into data, it's harder to talk shit. Policies that restrict internal movement, close schools and businesses, and ban international travel have been mandated in one form or another in almost every country. The first MPIs were implemented in China. From there, the pandemic and MPIs spread to Italy. Whatever, we know all this. By the Oxford COVID-19 response tracker, it's the OXCGRT. If you look here, you can see share of countries with it's Oxford COVID-19 government response tracker, stringency thresholds. So we look down here at this chart here. You can see that China starts to implement them, and then the whole world does. And until June, it was some pretty intense stringencies. Only countries with more than 1 million citizens are included. It's 153 countries in total. A lot of countries implemented these. If they're not, if people want to say that mass mandates are not a part of the NPI, of the non-pharmaceutical intervention, you'd have to make a good argument to me. A mask mandate, how is that not a non-pharmaceutical intervention? Do you know? I don't know. It's a non-pharmaceutical intervention in people's daily lives that they're compelled to do. I think I'm not going to really go over the introduction, but is there any reason to? Because I'm wondering if we should look at their methods. Did they even talk about the methods yet? No, not yet. Okay, so these are some fucking interesting data that we see here in this graph. We'll get to it in a second. Okay. Early epidemiological studies predicted large effects of NPIs and often cited model simulation by researchers at the Imperial College of London. That's Ferguson. Is this my boy? Is this my boy Ferguson? Probably not. Predicted that a suppression strategy based on a lockdown will reduce COVID mortality by up to 98%. It's a pretty big claim. These predictions were questioned by many scholars. Our early interest in the subject was spurred by 2 studies. First, Atkinson et al. 2020 showed that, quote, across all countries and U.S. states that we study, the growth rates of daily deaths from COVID-19 fell from a wide range of initially high levels to levels close to 0 within 20 to 30 days after each region experienced 25 cumulative deaths. Second, Sepatu et al. 2020 showed that the government policies are strongly driven by policies initiated in other countries, and less by the specific COVID-19 situation of the country. A third factor that motivated our research was the fact that there was no clear negative correlation between the degree of lockdown and fatalities in the spring of 2020. Given the large effects predicted by simulation studies such as Ferguson et al., we would have expected to at least observe a simple negative correlation between COVID-19 mortality and the degree to which lockdowns were imposed. However, may I direct your attention to these 2 graphs here, friends. Looking at these 2 graphs, if it's not clear, on the x-axis is the average stringency of measures in Europe on the left and on the United States on the right. So as measures became more stringent, as lockdowns increased, and then on the y-axis is deaths per millions between April and May. Do you see that this is a positive correlation? See how these are both going in a upward direction? This means that as stringency increased, deaths increased. Now, that's a basic correlation. It's got a lot of confounds in it. And by that I mean the disease was spreading more. The lockdowns weren't apparently preventing the spread, and more people were dying. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it does not mean, this could be misinterpreted as saying the lockdowns caused more deaths. That's not what it means at all. It means that the lockdowns weren't doing anything, or were doing very little to prevent deaths, just on a basic observational level, right? Today, it remains an open question as to whether lockdowns have had a large significant effect on COVID-19 mortality. We address this question by evaluating the current academic literature on the relationship between COVID-19 mortality rates. We use NPI, that's that what was it again? Sorry, keep forgetting the fucking word. Non-pharmaceutical intervention, to describe any government mandate which directly restricts people's possibilities. They don't like that. Again, because it contains mask policies. Our definition does not include governmental recommendations, governmental information campaigns, access to mass testing, voluntary social distancing, but do include mandated interventions such as closing of schools or businesses, mandated face masks, etc. We define lockdown as a policy consisting of at least one of the non-pharmaceutical policies listed above. So, it's 34 eligible studies that they found. At that point, when they first started, 931 studies were excluded because they either did not measure the effect of lockdowns on mortality or did not use an empirical approach. This left 117 studies. This is their method. This is the part they're being criticized for. Read and inspected. After a more thorough assessment, 83 of the 117 were excluded, leaving 34 studies eligible for meta-analysis. A table with all 33 excluded studies is available in Appendix B. Table 8, we could look that up. I don't have that up. The appendices, I don't have that up. But you can see here they're excluded. This is any meta-analysis you ever read, guys. If you ever look at a meta-analysis, you'll find this a similar Prisma flowchart as to how they determine what studies they're going to include in the analysis. So this is just the basic information there. These people were not doing things willy-nilly, you know. This is a very typical systematic meta-analytical review. This is how they use Google Scholar to find the studies. Criteria were does it measure lockdowns on mortality? Does the study use an empirical ex post difference and differential approach? By the way, let me ask you guys in chat, does it look right now like these guys are fucking around? Does it sound like some legitimate analysis? I mean, maybe people who are outside of this, wouldn't know, and maybe that's part of the issue is that people like this are hoping you don't know, but that's why we're here. That's why I'm here. Just read the research, right? Let's read it. We have distinguished two methods used to establish a relationship or lack thereof between mortality rates and lockdown policies. The first uses registered cross-sectional mortality data. These are ex post studies. Second method uses simulated data on mortality and infection rates. These are ex ante studies. We include all studies using a counterfactual difference approach from the former group, but disregard all ex ante studies, as the results from these studies are determined by model assumptions and calibrations. So they're not using modeling. They're only using raw data. Not modeling based off of data. That's why, you say some shit like this, you don't know what the fuck Bruce Lee, you do not know what you're talking about. Given our criteria, we exclude the much-cited paper from Flaxman et al., which claimed that the lockdowns saved 3 million lives in Europe. Flaxman et al. Assumed the pandemic would follow an epidemiological curve unless countries locked down. So this study is making assumptions. That's why they didn't include it. It used modeling to predict something. This assumption means that the only interpretation possible for the empirical results is that lockdowns are the only thing that matters, even if other factors like season, behavior, etc. cause the observed change in the reproduction rate. Flaxman et al. Are aware of this and state, quote, our parametric form of R to T assumes that changes in RT are an immediate response to interventions rather than gradual changes in behavior. Flaxman et al. Illustrate how problematic it is to force data to fit a certain model if you want to infer the effect of lockdowns on COVID-19 mortality. So this very well cited study that's saying, wow, if you don't lock down because they're doing a modeling, they're doing model fit. Even they're like, we kind of fucked around, we're putting it to this one possible, that lockdowns are what's making this, but we have to admit that there are other variables at play that we can't account for in this specific analysis, correct? The counterfactual difference in different studies in this review generally exploit variation across countries. This part doesn't matter. The synthetic control method is a statistical method used to evaluate the effect of an intervention in comparative case studies. It involves the construction of a synthetic control, which functions as a counterfactual and is constructed as an optimal weighted combination as a pool of donors. For example, Born et al. 2021 created a synthetic control for Sweden, which consists of 30%, Denmark 25.3%, Finland 25.8%, Netherlands 15%, Norway and 3.9%, and Sweden. The effect... They didn't give Sweden's numbers there. That's why it's a working paper. Oh, look, there's an error. Look, Spoon, I found an error. They didn't give the percentages for Sweden on their counterfactual synthetic control. Oh, no. They didn't give the percentage on their counterfactual synthetic control for Sweden. They forgot it. Debunked. Well, we've now thoroughly debunked the paper. Job done, right? You still there? Have I bored you to tears? Or death?
Oh, man.
Just joking. And anyway, they exclude synthetic controls because of their inherent empirical problems. He finds that the synthetic control of the version of Sweden deviates substantially from actual Sweden, when looking at the period before mid-March 2020, when Sweden decided to not lock down. Bjornskov estimates that actual Sweden experienced approximately 500 fewer deaths in the first 11 weeks of 2020 and 4.5 thousand fewer deaths in 2019 compared to synthetic Sweden. The problem is inherent in all synthetic controls of COVID-19. Because the controls should be fitted based on a long period of time before intervention. This is the other problem. When you're talking about baseline versus synthetic control data or any kind of experimental data, well, he's making a synthetic control rather than a natural control, because the problem is, Spoon, COVID-19 didn't exist before 2019. Hence the name. So why you have to use a synthetic control is because you technically can't use a natural control. And the reason why you can't, well, you can, but the reason you for real robust study, you can't use a natural control is because the thing didn't exist beforehand, right? If it didn't exist beforehand, how can I calculate differences over time? So the COVID-19 novel virus, it's in, COVID-19 is the novel coronavirus. So you can't compare 2019 data, 2020 data to 2018 data because the virus didn't exist. This is why you have to develop a synthetic control, why that would be a method of doing so. But by design, it doesn't actually compare data of real countries between themselves. It compares differences between a presumed way that country would have functioned had COVID-19 existed in the pre-facto sense, right? If COVID-19 had existed in Sweden, for example, before COVID-19 actually existed, here's how we would compare these data. Does that sound like a sound methodology to you? Just asking.
Or is that aimed at me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can only hear like a third of that.
Oh, God damn it. Fuck, it's still breaking up.
Yep.
Man. God damn. Let me try to fuck around with it some more. Basically I was asking...
Say it again.
Yeah, just to reiterate too, is that the way that a synthetic control works, right? So a control in a study, I should reiterate for the chat too, this is actually very important. In a study, if I'm going to do an experiment, I have a control group and an experimental group. The control group I don't do anything to. I just see how they react normally to living their lives. The experimental group I induce something to. I induce some variable into their lives or into that group. And so the problem with a synthetic model is that it's saying because COVID-19 did not exist before 2019, you can't have a proper control group because the disease just exists, so everyone's exposed to it, right? So there can be no control, so they create a synthetic control using statistical methods to guess what they think a fictionalized, and by that I mean a statistically derived version of a country would look like had coronavirus 19 existed, and then compare it to the actual data that they do have. So they're comparing a fictional version that's been created using statistics to the actual version, not to the data that truly did exist, because the disease didn't exist beforehand. Does that make sense at all? Am I explaining this poorly, guys? I'm trying my best. Does it make any sense to you, Spoon, if you heard any of it?
Yeah, not really.
Shit. I'm trying my best. They're comparing something that doesn't exist to something that does exist, rather than comparing two things that do exist.
I know what a control group is, though.
Right, but I'm saying in these studies, they're comparing a group that does exist to a group that doesn't exist because the group that doesn't exist can't exist because it doesn't exist under the parameters that they are studying the group that currently does exist in.
I thought you were trying to make this easier to explain.
I'm trying so hard! I got so far. But in the end, it didn't even matter. Alright. Alright. We excluded all interpreted time series studies which simply compare mortality rates before and after lockdowns. This is good. So they are not just doing pure comparative analysis. Simply comparing data from before and after the implosion of lockdowns could be the result of time-dependent variations such as seasonal effects. Very good. For the same reason, we also exclude studies with little jurisdictional variance. For example, we exclude Kanyan et al., 2020b, who exploit policy variation between Denmark and Norway on the one hand, and Sweden on the other, and thus only have one jurisdictional area in the group. Although there is a difference approach, there is a non-negligible risk that differences are caused by much more than just differences in lockdowns. Another example is Wu and Wu 2020. Oh, I've read that study, actually. Who use all U.S. states but pool groups of states, so they basically end up with 3 observations. That's not good data, and don't pull it. None of the excluded studies cover more than 10 jurisdictional areas. One study is a specialized case of the jurisdictional variance criteria. That's Auger et al. These researchers analyzed the effect of school closures in the U.S. and find that those closures reduce mortality by 35%. However, all 50 states closed schools between March 13th and March 23rd, which means that in all difference in difference is based on a maximum 10 days. Given the long lag between infection and death, there is a risk that Auger et al.'s approach is an interpreted time series analysis, where they compare United States before and after school closures rather than a true difference in difference approach. To try and translate that, they're only assessing very specific states, and they're finding this mortality rate reducing, even though that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the fact that based on their time lag, which is just 10 days, 10 days of analysis, and that there's a long lag between death and infection, it's very unlikely that this would get a good snapshot, if you want to use that terminology, of the infection and closure to death rate, because at this point, if they close the schools on March 13th, and there's a decrease in death by 35% by March 23rd, the amount of time it takes to contract and then incubate the virus is more than 10 days, and certainly more than 10 days to die from it, generally speaking. You don't die the second you get COVID. Is that misinformation? Am I gonna get an misinformation flag on that? I think that's, everyone fucking knows that. In other words, these are not, you can't say that the reason why over these 10 days that mortality reduced by 35% is because you closed the schools. That's an impossible conclusion to come to. Publication status and date. We include all ex-post studies regardless of publication and status date. That is, we cover both working papers and published journal papers. They're mad about the working paper thing again, but like I said, it's because these papers are open to review. That's why they're working. Also, in the early days of COVID-19, speed was crucial, which may have affected the quality of papers. That is a problem. I've looked at some data recently. It's like, oof, some of that, you fucked some shit up. Including them makes it possible to compare the results of early studies to studies carried out at later stage. We exclude... By the way, I'm going over all right here right now. I already have a misinformation flag on the video, do I? I'm sure I do. I'm sure I fucking do. How? I mean, it's fascinating. Just because I've done nothing but read pretty much just straight up research. When the COVID-19 hit Europe and the United States, it was virtually impossible to determine the right timing. The WHO declared the outbreak of the pandemic on March 11th, but at that date, Italy had already registered 13.7 COVID deaths per million. On March 18 days after the WHO declared the outbreak of pandemic, the earliest lockdown response to the WHO's announcement could potentially have an effect. The mortality rate in Italy was a staggering 178 COVID deaths per million, an additional 13 per million dying each day. It's horrible, man. It's fucked. This shit was fucking...
They're lucky they're not saying what I'm thinking about the pandemic.
What are you thinking?
Oh my god, the misinformation.
Oh, the
my
misinformation,
God.
yeah.
This video will be like, oh my god, please censor it immediately because I'll just go like full days vault base.
Well, as I showed earlier, we have to be very careful.
No, I don't. I can say whatever the hell I want right now.
No, I know you can, but... Oh, I got the wrong thing. You gotta be very careful, though, because as you know, guys, as we saw, the Department of Homeland Security has said that misinformation is terrorism.
Call me a terrorist and I don't give a fuck.
Is this terrorism that we're reading right now, YouTube, Susan?
Yeah.
Is reading this study terrorism? Apparently. Secondly, it's extremely...
Look what I said on Discord. I want to say that.
Yeah, well, it's true. Well, you said
I know, but
we already had the misinformation flag. You might as well say it.
No, that's that's very bad. It's very true.
How's it
though.
very bad? It's literally true.
I know, but
well, you had like
obsessed.
5 caveats at the end of it. Like, what does this actually mean? He said a thing. He said a thing about horse paste, guys. He said a thing about horse paste, the nasty horse paste you're not allowed to talk about.
Yeah.
It's extremely difficult to differentiate the between the effects of public awareness and the effect of lockdowns when looking at timing because people and politicians are likely to react to the same information. Exactly. As Figure 4 illustrates, all European countries and the US states that were hit hard and early by COVID experiencing high mortality rates, whereas all countries hit relatively late experienced low mortality rates. Bjork et al. I can only think about Bjork, sorry. Illustrate the difficulties in analyzing the effect of timing. They find that a 10 stringency point stricter lockdown would reduce COVID mortality by a total of 200 deaths per million, if done in week 11 of 2020. Whoa, hang on a minute, what was that? Did somebody send a thingy? Did it work? Because I keep having issues. I'm gonna fucking switch my internet, because I don't know what's going on. Can I? I did not get yeeted,
Next
guys.
time I'll do the stream.
What? I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's happening. I think everything should be back up now, though. Hopefully. Let me see.
Yeah, as soon as you mention horse paste, this happens.
I mentioned horse paste, and it gets scuffed.
Yeah.
Is it stream back up, Spin? Can you see? All right, cool. I don't think it's as I mentioned horse paste because it happened. I saw a drop in my OBS and stuff. Everything dropped off. It might just be my internet. I don't know. I'll call the internet service tomorrow probably and complain. Every once in a while we have an issue. Although I'm on the good connection. I'm on the 5G. Oh, now I'm gonna get cancer, right? Oh no, I said another meme.
You're on wireless.
No, yeah, I have to be. On my desktop.
Okay.
There's no wires down here.
This is why I'm better. I'm hardwired in. Because wirelessness is for gays.
Yeah, it is. Oh well. In Minecraft, right? 10 point stringency stricter 10 point stringency point stricter lockdown. Yeah, right. Okay, right, went through this. The other argument Alan uses for the ineffectiveness of the lockdowns that he identifies. Oh, sorry. One interpretation of this result is that lockdowns do not work if people either find them unnecessary or fail to obey the mandates, or people voluntarily lock themselves down. This is the argument from Alan 2021, who uses in the ineffectiveness of lockdowns he identifies. My voice is dying, guys. I'm sorry. If this interpretation is true, what Bjork et al. Find is that information and signaling is far more important than the strictness of the lockdown. There may be other interpretations, but the point is that studies focusing on timing could not differentiate between these interpretations. However, if lockdowns do have a notable effect, we should see this effect of regardless of timing. We should identify this effect more correctly by excluding studies that exclusively analyze timing. Here we can get the timing data. You can see first wave deaths per million. It's on the y-axis. This is in Europe on the left, the United States on the right. And then at the bottom on the x-axis is date to reach COVID-19 deaths per million. So it was that it chilled off really quickly, right? Things early on in March and April were bad. I think we all kind of know that. Things were really bad early on in terms of the pandemic. And that makes sense though, because it was novel, right? People didn't know how to react to that kind of stuff. And it was going to be a lot of people who weren't locking down, and by that I mean they weren't masking, they weren't being more aware and stuff. Oh, sorry, I'm also trying to find that if someone sent me a thing, or do they have sent it to you? What's in the description? What did I put in here? Oh, it's for your Streamlabs, Spoon.
Yes. Why?
Did you get a donation?
I don't know.
I checked Streamlabs.
I don't think so.
I heard a little noise. It popped up in my OBS. That's why I got distracted here for a minute. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I did. Sorry.
Spoon, what happened?
What? I don't have it up on me all the time.
You should have it up on you. What was the donation?
Oh no, I'm not reading that.
Uh-huh.
No, because it's gonna.
So I got some lemonade.
What the hell you're opening?
It's lemonade. It's Schweppes.
No, it's gonna start the conversation from last week again.
What's the conversation from last? Oh my God. Is soup a gazpacho or whatever? Is soup cereal?
No. It's related to that. Like no.
I knew it. Spoon, please read the donation from our generous viewer.
God damn it, Yorick says, on the topic of misinformation, is cereal soup and are Cheez-Its crackers?
Cheez-Its are definitely crackers. What else would they possibly be? They're definitely a cracker. I had some Cheez-Its the other day. I think I said it on stream with Ken Jennings, which is that I have to import Cheez-Its here, man. I have to like go to a store called like AmericanSnackCompany.uk to order my stupid fucking American snacks. It's fucking lame. I don't like it. Very, very uncool. Anywho.
I'll try that again.
Thank you.
You start the conversation again, I will start talking about scotch.
It's fine. But who sent the donation?
Let me see. Yorick.
Thank you, Yorick. Thank you. I will, as much as I'm tempted to go back into the soup cereal conversation. I got some data here we gotta look at. We're an hour and a half
Cereal is a nacho? I find that less offensive.
Okay. The empirical evidence. We're out of the methods section now, guys. We're out of methods. By the way, there's a reason why I'm reading. I thought about before the stream about writing down just notes about this, you know what I mean? And I decided against it because otherwise you'll get this shit. You get these fucking articles from people who don't goddamn understand what they're talking about. It's better for everyone. We should all read it together, understand it together. Nobody's confused. We got what's going on. All right? You know what I mean? Just my opinion. And it's the correct one. Okay. While the policy conclusions contained in some studies are based on statistically significant results, many of these calculations are ill-founded due to the tiny impact associated with statistically significant results. For example, Ashraf 2020 states that, quote, social distancing measures has proved effective in controlling the spread of a highly contagious virus. However, their estimates showed that the average lockdown in Europe and the US only reduced COVID mortality by 2.4%. Highly effective? Another study, another example is Chizadzda? I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. The authors argue that, quote, less stringent interventions increase the number of deaths, whereas more severe responses to the pandemic can lower fatalities. Their conclusion is based on a negative estimate for the squared term of stringency, which results in a total negative effect of mortality rates, i.e. fewer deaths, for stringency values higher than 124. However, the stringency index is limited to values between 0 and 100 by design, so the conclusion is clearly incorrect. Did you hit that shit? Did you catch that shit, my dude, Spoon?
Some of it.
This study, this CISA-DZA study, was like, hey, look, the COVID lockdowns work when you're really, really stringent, and when your stringency value is over 124, but the index they're using to calculate stringency only goes from 0 to 100. So they went, they went to 11, in other words, to make this conclusion. Do you see what I mean? So, in order to find this conclusion, they had to go to 11 in their analysis. This, my dudes, it's bad science. It's just bad. Yeah, they went to 12. Yeah, thank you, Furious Dan. They actually went to 12. They just skipped 11 and went straight up to 12. Oh, where was I? Handling multiple models, specifications, and uncertainties. Several studies adopt a number of models to understand the effects of lockdown. For example, Bjorn Skov 2021a estimates the effect after 1, 2, 3, and 4 weeks of lockdowns. For these studies, we select the largest time horizon analyzed to attain the estimate closest to the long-term effect of lockdowns. Several studies, they're mostly talking about like their methodology here, but yeah, this is just, if you wanted more information about their methods, I'm gonna try to speed up though, because I'm not zooming over this for any reason. It's here on the screen. Please read it. It's just that this isn't necessary. This is just them explaining further their way that they chose these studies and the models they used. This is not me being like, oh, forget that, doesn't fit my narrative. No, fucking narrative, man. Effects are measured relative to Sweden in the spring of 2020. This is actually kind of important. It's going to sound really boring, but it's kind of important. Virtually all countries in the world implemented and mandated the non-pharmaceutical interventions in response to COVID-19 pandemic. Hence, most estimates are relative to doing the least, which in many Western countries means relative to doing as Sweden has done, especially during the first wave, when Sweden, due to constitutional constraints, implemented very few restrictions compared to other Western countries. However, some studies do compare the effect of doing something to the effect of doing absolutely nothing. To reiterate, what that means is that basically the whole world locked down. And when the whole world is locked down, you don't have a comparative control group to see what would happen if you did nothing, right? So because we don't have a control group, they're talking about comparative to Sweden, which did very little. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Just you into the chat, just making sure there is no proper control. The consequence is that some estimates are relative to doing the least, while others relative to doing nothing. This may lead to biases if doing the least works as a signal or warning, which alters the behavior of the public. For example, Gupta et al. 2020 find a large effect of emergency declarations, which they argue are, quote, best viewed as an information instrument that signals to the population that the public health situation is serious and that they act accordingly on social distancing, but not of other policies such as shelter-in-place orders. Thus, if we compare a country issuing a shelter-in-place order to a country doing nothing, we may overestimate the effect of the SIPO because it is the sum of the signal and the SIPO. Instead, we should compare the country issuing the SIPO to a country doing the least to estimate the marginal effect of said shelter-in-place order. To take an example, Bonardi et al. 2020 find relatively large effects of doing something, but no effect of doing more. They find no extra effect of stricter lockdowns relative to less strict lockdowns, and state that our results point to the fact that that people might adjust their behaviors quite significantly as partial measures are implemented, which might be enough to stop the spread of the virus. In other words, you didn't have to do all this shit. Just tell people, wash your hands, be a little bit less gross, something like that. Normal stuff, not necessarily close down everything, destroy businesses and schools. But I digress. Hence, whether the baseline is Sweden, which implemented a ban on large gatherings early in the pandemic, or the baseline is do nothing, can affect the magnitude of estimated impacts. There's no right way to solve this issue. Straight up. Overview of findings for the eligible studies. Table 1 covers the 34 eligible studies in our review. Out of these 34 studies, 22 were peer-reviewed and 12 are working papers. I will reiterate, a working paper does not mean it's not technically peer-reviewed. It is being worked on by peers. That's the point. Studies analyzed lockdowns during the first wave. Most of the studies, 29, used data collected before September 1st of 2020, and 10 used data collected before May 1st of 2020. One study, he goes over the studies here. Anything else we need to cover in this part? Several studies find no statistically significant effect of lockdowns on mortality. For example, this includes Bjorn Skov 2021a and Stockenhuber 2020, who found no significant effect of stricter lockdowns. Sears et al. 2020 and Dave et al. 2021 find no significant effect of shelter-in-place orders. And Chaudhry et al. 2020, Aparicio, sorry, I can't pronounce names. Aparicio and Grossbar 2021 and Gual et al. 2021 found no significant effect of any of the analyzed non-pharmaceutical interventions, including business closures, school closures, and border. Fuck, I'm sure you guys are getting bored. Border closures. Other studies found a significant negative relationship between lockdowns and mortality. This is where it gets fucking spicy, right? Fowler et al. 2021 found that SIPO, the stay-at-home orders, reduced COVID mortality by 35%. We went over some of the problems with this study. It's fucking scuffed. While Cherno-Zukov et al. 2021 found that employee mask mandates reduced mortality by 34% in closing businesses, and bars reduced mortality by 29%. Some studies find a significant positive relationship between lockdowns and mortality, though. Again, this is where it gets interesting. So by positive, this means that more people died under lockdown. You got me? Not cool. This study includes Tiradzda, that name I can't pronounce, who found that stricter lockdowns increased COVID-19 mortality by 0.01 per stringency point, and Barry et al. 2021, who finds it increased COVID-19 mortality by 1% after 14 days. Are these, like, crazy results? No. Oh, did the stream fucking drop again? God damn it. Hang on, guys. Don't have F in the chat while I'm having internet errors. Spoon, are you there? Can you hear me? Probably not. It's my fucking internet, my dude. Why? Man, I fell off. God damn it. Oh, fuck, dude. Sorry, guys. This is really fun. Okay. Hey, let's see. Are we back? Spoon, can you hear me? Shit. Hello? No. Oh, it's all fucking scuffed in that.
Gonna go maybe. Yeah, I can hear you now. I don't know.
Okay, a little bit better now. I changed my internet port, essentially. I don't know how to... Sorry about the internet. I have no idea. I think it's just an issue. My husband told me earlier that, like, there was a problem with the internet today that he was experiencing, so fun. Yeah, maybe Spoon, you can host it next time, but normally it hasn't been an issue up until today, so I don't know. At least, Spoon, can you hear me again?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
The reason people didn't hear me is because I didn't say anything.
I know you weren't saying anything because you weren't able to hear me, but if you can hear me now, that's better.
No, I could hear the whole time. I just wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Well, I thought it was clicking in and out. Oh, well. Who knows? Who knows? Wait, can anybody hear Spoon? Because he should be popping up. Oh, no. It's just a chat's a little bit delayed. Okay. Sorry, let's get back into it. What I was saying, though, here about this, these studies that found that, like, the lockdowns actually increased deaths. This is really small effect sizes. In the chat, because it's a little bit, it's like 30 seconds behind, so maybe a minute behind. But you're still there, right, Spoon? Right? Oh my god, are you kidding me? I feel like I'm
Barely.
being punked. Hello?
Yes.
Bro, this is so insufferable. I really am enjoying this internet fucking debauchery. Oh my god. Alright. Okay. Let's get back to it, I guess. Most studies use the number of official COVID-19 deaths as the dependent variable. Only one study, Bjornskov 2021a, looks at total excess mortality, which, although is not perfect, we perceive to be the best measure as it overcomes the measurement problems related to properly reporting COVID-19 deaths. Several studies explicitly claim that they estimate the actual causal relation. Should I read through this slowly or read through this carefully? I don't know. Some studies use instrumental variables to justify the causality associated with their analysis, while others make causality probable using anecdotal evidence. But Subhadu et al. 2020 show that government policies are strongly driven by the policies initiated in neighboring countries rather than by the severity of the pandemic. Wait, did I read this part? No. In short, it is not the severity of the pandemic that drives the adoption of lockdowns, but rather the propensity to copy policies initiated by neighboring countries. It's not actually about health, in this case, is what the data seem to be indicative of, right? It's about what other people are doing. This is, right here, what I'm scrolling past here is this. These are a summary of stuff over this. It's literally my internet just shut off. I don't know why this is happening. Don't know what's going on. You can keep trying, I guess. I don't know. Do you want to just move on to something else? I don't think that it's me doing this that's causing my internet to die. I want to just get... Sorry. Oh, jeez, man. Coof got me. I want to get through this real quick. Let's try to... I want to get just a little bit more of this. Can you hear me at least now, Spoon? Kind of.
Somewhat.
Somewhat? It's still patchy?
Yep, still cuts out.
Oh my god. I honestly don't know what to do.
I just leave the stream. We'll do something else next week.
Well, I didn't.
Because frankly, it's kind of pissing me off.
Sorry.
Like if you can't tell, like I'm not in a good mood right now.
Yeah, I can kind of tell.
Yeah.
I wanted to get through this study. Shoot, this really makes me upset. I don't know what's wrong with my internet though. I don't know how to fix it. So it's something.
Yeah, I'll do the streaming from now on next week.
Okay. Alright, sorry guys, we're just gonna head out because there's something clearly wrong with the internet here, so I'll head out. Sorry, thanks for the support. We'll try to fix things. Maybe we'll do something tomorrow, or I don't know what you want to do to try and do the rest of this. Anywho, bye-bye. Sorry about that, guys. It really bums me out. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.